Hi, welcome to the 7th lesson for Out of Grammar with Clarity for Everyone. This lesson is going to teach you all about compound sentence structure, and then the next lesson after this will be complex sentence structure. So I'm excited. Let's get started. In this lesson, you're going to need your red colored pencil, your orange colored pencil, and your dark blue colored pencil, a sharpened pencil, and of course, college ruled lined notebook paper. Let's get started. Okay, so first thing you're going to do is identify that this is our this is our 8th lesson because 6th was 6 and 7. I guess I called it 6A and 6B. Let's go ahead and call this 7. I'm sorry, this is number 7. I probably should have renumbered 6. Okay, and go ahead and put your heading of compound sentences. Compound sentences are kind of fun to teach because this is where we talk about the boy fans, the coordinating conjunctions that I referenced in an earlier lesson. So compound sentences, we're going to use an asterisk and we're going to just kind of define what this is, okay? Well, first of all, let me tell you, if you think about a compound word, you know, what are some quick compound words that come to mind? For me, basketball comes to mind because basket and ball are 2 complete words, and when you put them together, they're compounded. So if we think about that, the definition for compound words would be 2 specific words put together to form a new one. Then that's exactly the same thing with compound sentences. We have 2 complete sentences that are put together to form a new one. And when we do that, we up the level of our writing, we up the level of our speaking. All right, so what do we want to say for the definition here? We will say 2 independent clauses, well, 2 or more, because a compound sentence could have more than 2 independent clauses. Okay, so 2 or more independent clauses. And then, you know, I know that at this point you're feeling pretty comfortable that you know what an independent clause is. Okay, I'm just going to apologize ahead of time when that ringing occurs. That's my granddaughter calling me on Zoom, and not Zoom, FaceTime. They live in Japan, and that's the only way to get to call. And she's a toddler, but she knows how to call grandma. So her mom has not a lot of control over that. She grabs the phone and calls grandma all the time. So I apologize when you hear that. I'll try to stop it. Okay, so we have 2 or more independent clauses, and these clauses are joined. They are specifically joined by either a semicolon or, and more commonly, a coordinating conjunction. Okay, so now we're going to do some sentence frames here, okay? So I want you to come down a couple of spots, and I want you to draw a line, a heavy line, okay? And then I want you to put a comma, make sure it's a big one. And then I want you to do a squiggle, but the squiggle has to be sharp edges, and then another line, and then a period, okay? This is the basic sentence frame for a compound sentence. So in this one, we have an independent clause. We're going to write it below. Okay, and then here we have another independent clause. Now, do you remember that we're color coding our independent clauses with blue, our dark blue? So let's go ahead and just really make these obnoxiously big, okay? Okay, so we've got those independent clauses, and what is going to go here? So we're going to draw an arrow down, and this is where we put a coordinating conjunction. With younger students, I call it a special helper word or a boy fans word. Whatever helps you recognize it, it doesn't matter to me, but technically it's called a coordinating conjunction. So that's what we're going to write, okay? Coordinating conjunction. That's what it is. And here they are. We're going to come down a full line and we're going to write B-O-Y and then come over here and space it F-A-N-S. Now, we've already discussed this, so you probably already know what these are. The B is for but, the O is for or, the Y is for yet. Guess before I say them if you can. The F is for, the A is and, the N is nor, and the S is so. We're going to put this in a box. Okay, so these are the special helper words. Now, these we're going to color code with orange, okay? So we're going to take our orange, and it's very important, the distinction that we have, not only do we have a coordinating conjunction that separates these two, or I shouldn't say separate, I should say joins these two, but we also have to have a comma, all right? So we have a comma, so we're going to make that really big and heavy orange. And then we're going to go over our squiggles really big and heavy. We're going to go ahead and cover all of that. All right. And then let's go ahead and make our coordinating conjunction box big. And I don't know, I kind of wrote small, and I don't think my orange is going to do any justice to this coordinating conjunction. So I'm not going to like heavily go over that. But boy fans, these are the words that fit here. Okay, with a comma. You can't do it without a comma. Now, this is one sentence frame for two independent clauses. There's another sentence frame for two independent clauses, and it's where we do not use a comma and a coordinating conjunction, but instead we use a semicolon. So let's come down here and let's write that sentence frame. So we're going to come down a little bit, not too far. We're going to do another heavy line. Then we're going to do a semicolon, okay? And then another heavy line. So down here, we're going to write independent clause. And here, independent clause. So each of these have to be totally standalone sentences. We're going to color code these guys blue. All right. You can't just randomly use a semicolon, okay, instead of a coordinating conjunction. It has to actually make sense. Like whatever follows this has to legitimately make sense to directly follow it. It either supports it, it provides additional information for it, it clarifies it, something, but it definitely needs to follow it in a way that's really meaningful, that does not require a coordinating conjunction in order to make sense, okay? So keep that in mind, and we'll do some examples and you'll see what that looks like. We're going to go over this semicolon in orange, okay? And we're going to just kind of draw an arrow from the semicolon, and we're going to go like that. And we're going to write ourselves a little note that says, the semicolon can take the place of this. All right, so again, you could have more than two independent clauses joined, and that's totally fine. We are now going to put this into practice with some IXL. This was like one of the easy breezy ones to do. Okay, so this first example that we're going to look at is from IXL 10th grade, X.5. So it's the first thing we want to do when we're trying to determine if something is a compound sentence or not. We want to go ahead and use our color coding system that we have, which is to pick out the independent clauses, which are the standalone sentences, with blue. So in this first one, I've underlined it in blue for you. So it says, students are unhappy with the new dress code requirements. Is that a complete sentence? Yes. So we're going to underline that in blue. We're now going to skip over the comma and skip over the word and. We're just going to bypass it, and we're going to look at the next clause and see if it's independent or dependent. They will be discussing their grievances at the next school board meeting. Is that a complete standalone sentence? Yes, it's an independent clause. So that is the determining factor as to whether or not we have a compound sentence or not. we have to, our two, at least two of our, excuse me, all of our clauses have to be independent. If we bring in a dependent one, we change the type of sentence completely. And that's what we'll be discussing in the next lesson. That's where we talk about complex sentences or complex compound sentences. Okay, but this is important because you have to start to train your brain to bypass the comma, bypass the coordinating conjunction, and look at what happens next, okay? And so yes, this is a perfect example of a compound sentence. All right, now this example also comes from the 10th grade IXL X.5. So I chose this one because it has the word "and" in here more than one time. So I wanted to show you how you discern the difference. You may remember from the very beginning where I talked about how the word "and" can be used as a coordinating conjunction to join independent clauses, but it also is used, one of its other jobs is to list things. And so here we have the word "and" doing both jobs. So let's look at the first job. And this is where we're going to skip over the comma, skip over the word "and." Bows and arrows made their first appearance more than 25,000 years ago. Is that a complete thought? Yes, that is an independent clause. We're going to skip over that. Archery has been used ever since for hunting, combat, and sport. Is that a complete thought? Yes, that's an independent clause as well. But what about this comma here and this "and"? This is one of the comma rules for listing. So hunting, comma, combat, comma, and sport. When you're listing 3 or more items, you have to have your commas separating them in the word "and." If you're listing 2 items, you have the comma separate, or not, excuse me, not the comma. You won't have a comma, you'll just have the word "and." You doing that job of listing. So don't get tricked by that, okay? Don't get tricked by the "and" doing its listing job. If it is not doing its coordinating conjunction job of blending or of making a compound sentence, there won't be a comma right in front of it. And there also, well, actually there would be, excuse me, because here we have a list of 3 and there's a comma in front of it. But there will be a whole independent clause in front of that comma, okay? That's what you need to look for, not just a list of things. Okay. All right, so IXL does not break down, it does not break compound and complex sentence tasks down. And so today's task is going to be you practicing writing these types of sentences and then doing the color coding on them. And then when you're done, show a parent to have them review and make sure that you have done this correctly. So first, you're going to write 4 compound sentences using coordinating conjunctions. Underline the independent clauses in blue, circle the comma and the coordinating conjunction in orange. Then when you're done with that, I want you to Google examples of compound sentences with semicolons. Read a few of the examples. There's some really great ones out there. Then I want you to write 2 compound sentences using semicolons. Make sure that your 2 independent clauses are directly related and that using a semicolon is the best option over a coordinating conjunction. Underline your independent clauses, circle your semicolon, and then show a parent. So you'll end up with a total of 6 practice sentences, which are color coded, and then you will show a parent and ideally explain to your parent what you did. Okay. All right, good job, everybody. Thank you for hanging in there so well. Our next lesson is going to be all about complex sentences. After I teach you about complex sentences, I'll probably pull in some compound complex sentence structure as well, because it's important to learn. It's probably a little bit advanced for 7th graders, but 8th and up should be able to handle it no problem. And because IXL is going to blend all the practice together. So we'll do some examples of all. The next lesson is going to be lengthier than this one. Bye-bye, everybody.